to your Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain tips for easily ignite your full spectrum wealthy life. Join us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all want and deserve to be wealthy and happy. This podcast is powered by Anchor FM by Spotify. Anchor FM is this super awesome free podcast made easy platform. And for this week, we're so thrilled and so honored, and we welcome wholeheartedly Sara Jane from the UK. Sara, would you share with us what do you do real quick?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm basically what they call a complementary therapist. And the main thing I do is work with energy, Reiki, and sound. So, and having discovered sound energy, I found myself creating vocal Reiki. And I'm not saying that other people may not do something similar, but this has come through me. I would never class it being from me because I believe the energy I work with is channeled energy. So in a nutshell, I work with energy.
Well, that is wonderful. Knowing that in life, really everything is energy, as much as some people aware or some people want to deny everything is energy, right? And so that's wonderful to be able to work with energy. That is indeed quite a unique. Working with energy is quite a wonderful occupation. But the focal Reiki and sound energy, that is something that is quite unique. I remember the first time I saw about that, and it's such a great honor to have been able to work with you before. But it was like, wow, I never hear about this. So what brought you to work with energy, and in particular the sound energy, and create the focal Reiki?
My story goes back to just before my first birthday. And very briefly, I was scalded by a boiling milk coffee that went all over my face, down my neck. The jumper I was wearing stuck to my skin. I was hospitalized for 3 months. Now, bearing in mind, at the time of recording, this was 63 years ago. Okay, because it would have been around about now because I spent my first birthday in hospital and my birthday's coming up. And my parents at that time, parents were not allowed to stay with their children.
Oh.
The hospital rules were every other day. The reality for me was once a week for an hour. Now they know now, not only did I go through the trauma of the scalding, but I went through the trauma of desertion. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't desert me. They didn't stop loving me. But it was the rules and regulations of the time and circumstances of the time that prevented it. There were other things, like when I came out, they'd moved, so I didn't go home to familiar surroundings. My mother was pregnant with my sister Gillian, who died when she was 9 weeks old. So my parents went through a living hell at that time with me, with Gillian, and it did me no good on an emotional level, but not anything that could have been diagnosed at that time. It took many years of being a people pleaser. And then I had my wake-up call, which was a broken jaw that gave me 6 months of pain and sleepless nights. The dentist broke it, extracting a wisdom tooth. Nobody punched me.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh.
And I didn't know it was broken for a week. That was the resulting pain, but it meant I was so exhausted I could no longer got the energy to be the people pleaser. And that was the start of my healing journey. It resulted in the end of a marriage. I got made redundant at the same time. All sorts of things all happened. But for me, they conspired to support me. I saw it as being, I can look back and see it as something being so beautifully positive. And then I started thinking, okay, what can I do to help me? it had to be what I did for me, not what anybody else did for me.
Mhm.
I can't learn massage. You can't exactly massage yourself. And then somebody mentioned Reiki. The first person you treat when you learn is yourself. That's for me. I had no intention of doing anything other than learning for me. I'm now a Reiki master and teacher. That is how Reiki changed my life, because I
Wow.
stepped into it fully. And it was my Reiki master that introduced me to toning. So the sound I work with is toning, so it's the use of the voice. Reiki is an energy that as a practitioner, we channel. I don't give it, I offer it. And I'm very strong on that. I don't like hearing people say, I give Reiki. I offer it. It is for the individual to accept or reject as they choose and take it to where they require it, not what I think I know. Their higher self, their body knows best. And the sound to me is channeled. So as much as I open my mouth and a sound comes out, a tone comes out, it's not me. It's just energy, higher energies using my vocal cords. And working with that, I found, and really I had to work with it for a very long time, doing different things with it to discover that I could not only work on a physical level, muscular, skeletal, organs, systems of the body. I then found that I could also work at a much deeper level to the cellular memory level. So that level at which all that hurt and trauma for me from childhood was held.
Mm-hmm.
And I can support others to do exactly the same, to connect to that inner child, that hurt, that pain, that trauma. And that, it's been a journey. It really has. This is not a 5-minute thing. You know, it was in the late 1990s that the broken jaw happened. You know, so it is. You know, we're now 2022. So it has taken me a lot of years to work with the things, work with myself, go through my own journey to find I'm not a people pleaser anymore. To find that I can be really true to me. I've healed that inner child. She's now happy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful that you have. I would say the broken jaw probably not so much fun. To say the very least, that will be an extreme underestimating, but it's so beautiful. You know, one thing that I hear from a lot of guests in here and life in general, including my own life, sometimes we have such an adversity, whether it's a broken jaw or somebody leave from in our life or a job or one or another thing. Sometimes we have seemingly such an adversity, but if we actually stick with it and look at it, we actually discover the gift. Like you said, most people won't be, yet many people actually will be saying, oh, it's broken jaw, I'm miserable, and don't necessarily use it as a so-called wake-up call. So it take a whole nother person, a whole nother level of person and maturity, I would say, to be able to say, you know what is this, and let me gain some good out of that, and a lot of good, because you're helping a lot of people. That is very interesting that you say that the Reiki and the focal Reiki will be able to reach the cellular memory. Is that means if somebody, sometimes we hear people that has childhood trauma for any reason, they have childhood trauma, would they be one that can be benefited from that greatly?
Yes, is the simple answer to that. But what I would say is people have to be ready. You could, one of the biggest things that helps that cellular memory level connect with the inner child is your name. I came to understand how important our name is. Our first name, the name we were given as a child, the name our mother called us as a child. That is the name that is of the most importance. And it has a real resonance within us because I believe we chose that name. We chose it, not our parents. We guided our parents. And there is another story around how I came that, but okay, I appreciate we've got a short interview. So, but I know this from my own personal experience because I changed my name. So I won't go into the ins and outs of that, but that's why I'm Sara Jane now, because that's the whole of my name. But I was Jane as a child. I changed it to Sarah. So you can call me Sarah, you can call me Sara Jane, you can call me Jane, it doesn't matter. I honor the whole of me now. And that's the important thing. It's that bringing back together, that's that connection to every part of us. So people have to be ready, because I'm not asking people to revisit their story per se and the trauma, but I do ask people to see whether an aspect of themselves will connect with them, will come to them. And it's going to be an aspect that has experienced the trauma. But they don't have to relive the trauma. But people have to be ready. And I've had people say to me, Sarah, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
They would love it to be done if somebody else could just take it away for them. But they're not prepared to do the actual work.
That is very true. That's very true. As a grief specialist, the system that I use to help people, it's actually where it's an active thing where you actually also work with it. And many times we say, yeah, we wish we can do this for you, but you need to do this for yourself. And some people say, you know what, no, never mind, I just get to be more ready. And that is very true. That is very interesting. So that the name that we were born, our name has significance to that. And if you feel that you're not in alignment with the energy, you can change your name, which is very interesting. I was born with a different name, which is also my middle name now, actually. And it's even more unpronounceable than Birgit. And so how about that? Apparently, I like to choose unique things, right?
Did you say it was something like Corny?
Yes, it's a Mandarin version. It's pronounced slightly differently originally, but yeah, it is. And so, like in the Facebook, if you see my Facebook account, Birgit Pani 10, and but we always say, why Dad you choose such a complicated name? I guess I'll take the blame out of him now. Because apparently I choose some other unique name even now. I got to tell you about something, right? So it's very good, very interesting. Now you said people would need to be ready. Do you have one or two tips for people such that if there is something in their life that they want to improve, that will improve their readiness?
For me, what I would actually suggest to everybody, I avoid the word advice.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is help yourself to connect better with yourself. And again, we'll come back to name. Now, I appreciate that when I tone your name, some people will say, but you're singing it. I'm toning it. For me, there is an absolute difference, because if I'm singing, you don't want to listen. If I'm toning, I'm channeling. And I've had people say, oh, that sounded like my mother. And so, in which case I've said, in which case it was. And I don't know. I never know who I'm channeling. But you can start. Think about your name and how many of you out there, just like me, didn't like or don't like your name, still don't today. You don't like your name. Why don't you like your name? My guess, if you really think about it, is you don't like it because the energies you hold around your name are those energies of do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, go and do. And you're either in trouble or you're being told to do something, not even asked, told to do something. And they are very negative energies. We're not good at remembering all the lovely positive stuff. You know, when we've fallen over and that hug and that cuddle and that kissed knee or whatever that has gone with our name. As human beings, our abiding memory is the negative. That seems to have sunk deepest into us, which is very sad. So I've had people who haven't liked their name. And once I finished toning it, that feels so much better because the energy is of pure love and acknowledging who you are. So my suggestion is start by speaking your name. You're not asking anything of yourself. You're not telling yourself off. You are just acknowledging yourself. And please, if you are somebody who's changed your name, use the name your mother called you as a child. Because when I haven't been given permission to use that, and they've asked me to use the name they now call themselves, usually the energies are so horrible, I stop. And I look at them and say, no, they didn't like that at all. That was really uncomfortable. I said, now may I have permission to use the name your mother called you? Yes. Oh, I feel so much better.
Oh,
So
well, that's interesting.
our name is really important. So that, I think that's a really good one. I tone my name for myself very briefly, but every day.
Wow.
I do not make suggestions of things I do not do or haven't done for myself to support me on my journey. So start with speaking it. If you can find the courage to allow your voice to become more tone song-like, then go for it. Because the more you can put that vibrational energy of sound, not just spoken sound, but tone sound, it really does help us to connect to ourselves.
Oh, that is so beautiful and at the same time so unique. Some of us don't actually, before I met you, I didn't put, many of us don't put so much in name. Some of us don't like our name and actually change it. Like you said, I changed it because multiple different reasons. Actually, I didn't change it. I put a name in front of it for multiple different reasons. But it was interesting to hear that, to hear actually, you know, my name, the one that you see here, Brigitte, is actually being given by the nuns and so forth when I was in school. So that was very interesting, but very interesting how the different name and the different sound, it's not just something solid like an object, or us if we're thinking about our energy, but even the name and the sound and everything has an energy, and that is so beautiful and so different. Now, do you have any excuse me, talking about name.
Bless you.
Excuse me, talking about voice. Is there something that you, beside name, how do people learn more about you, about what you do, and how do they, if people, how really, some people, as you mentioned, they really kind of have a dissonance with their name, so to say. What would be a good step for them to even make peace? Because if they, that's in, it remind them, I know some grief client, it just remind them to such a trauma that they have, and yes, they might say, you know, I really want to do this, but just the sound of it, just reading it on other people's name. I have one person just reading it on other people, other person name with somebody else with the same name, you know, it just kind of give them like a shiver, so to say, with that level of trauma.
I think what you've got to realize is I've done talks, etc. and I will happily do them online, in person, well, depending, obviously the person's got to be more local to me. Online, it doesn't matter where in the world. But I've had people with the same name in the room, and when I've toned for the one, the other hasn't felt anything. But when I've then toned for them, because the energy is always going to be different per person. And I have got a website, vocalreiki.com. No hyphen, just vocalreiki.com. It's so simple. There are a number, interviews, they're all up there, so you can learn more about me, think, oh, is that somebody I want to listen to or not? There are videos there of sound baths that I've shared. Everything on there in that respect is totally free. It's free to get onto the website. You don't have to sign up to get onto the website. It's all free. Obviously, yes, I offer things like tasters of your name. I offer workshops, sessions, courses. I offer all those type of things, as many of us do. Yeah. It's all up there on the website. The other thing is, not everybody is right for everybody. Since I started working with the sound, since I started working with the inner child, there are people all over the place working with sound energy, working with inner child energy. Find who works for you. If you think, oh, don't know whether I resonate with her or not, that's fine. If what you're listening to speaks to you, even if I don't, that is 100% okay. I get it. I'm not right for everybody. I get it. And I've understood that almost from the word go. Yeah. I also would say very clearly, I am not a healer. I cannot heal you. The only person I can heal is me. However, what I and every other healer brings is a tool, an instrument that we offer to you to empower your own self-healing. That, I think, is why it's so important for you to be involved in the process. I do not get attached to an outcome, because your story is not my story. It's your story. And that, for me, is really important, that I do not become attached to any sort of outcome for you, because if I do, I could be holding you back. So that is what all I would say. But there is lots of information on the Vocal Reiki website. And if you want to potentially, because you, Bajit, you have been on my Gift of Healing TV, which is giftofhealingtv.com. I share interviews with many wonderful people like Bajit, with the different techniques and practices that they use. You have to start where is right for you. I started with Reiki and a technique called metamorphic technique, and learned various other bits and pieces, well, because I learned metamorphic. Start where you are comfortable with, and allow it to grow. Allow yourself to grow. It is not a 5-minute trick that can get you from being that people pleaser to being somebody that stands up for themselves and says no.
And that is very true. Sometimes in this society, we want quick fix, but as you said early in the interview, it's a journey. If you have things that you experience and you really want to basically transform and become the greater versions of you, it is a journey, really. The final questions I have is for people who says, well, I think life's pretty good for me right now. I'm not recalling any trauma. I don't hate my name, current or in the past or something like that. Life's pretty good in general. Would I still be benefit potentially from having Reiki, vocal or otherwise, done on having experience, that kind of experience, and or even like you said, sound bath and things?
If it is something that speaks to you, if you think, do you know what, I've never tried it, I would like to, then I would say, go for it. Absolutely go for it. You know, with some of us, we are happy to offer short sessions. It doesn't have to be a full hour. You know, the vocal Reiki, a taster of experiencing your name. I do not go anywhere near the trauma side within a taster. It's about just letting you have that experience of your name. You know, and yeah, it's about 15 minutes and probably a second toning of your name where I ask you just to think about something really happy that happened in your life. Just so that you can get yourself into that space of that joy as a child. But it might not be as a child. It could be something that happened to you last week. So pre the pandemic, you know, yeah, just something that helps bring energies up. Because I think we've all got stuff in the background. We bury it. Work on your chakras, your 7 main energy centers. I see your solar plexus as being the core of your being. That is where all the stuff you haven't dealt with, it's like a well, and it's all been dumped into there. If that lid's tightly on, it will eventually burst. And that is where our illnesses, ailments, stresses, strains all come from, is unresolved hurt, pain, and trauma.
That is wonderful, just to remember that we even if life's feeling good, to be aware. So it's what I'm hearing, that we continue to experience things that we might not aware that we're taking in, and it's impacting us. And if we feel called to, even if your life is wonderful, it's not always about fixing trauma, but sometimes it's about recalibrating us as we go day to day and moment to moment. If that can, like you said, in 15 minutes, it will kind of calibrate us and help us be even better. If you already are feeling great, then this type of things, if you feel called to give it a try, then it'll be able to help you be doing even better. I remember when you did the vocal Reiki with me, I've done a lot of work on myself by then, and it's always a growing process. But it's I've done a lot of work, and still I say, you know what, it's kind of feel a little bit lighter. It's just kind of freeing a little bit. And even though if we have a wonderful life is wonderful in any way, kind of like a good try of something that might help us, and just be creating an even better thriving life, I would say. So do you have any advice, and would you care to share a little bit more about you mentioned your gift of healing TV very briefly, and I know it's actually quite a fast resource in there. Would you care to share a little bit about that, so the audience can understand what it is?
Okay, yeah. Firstly, with the Vocal Reiki website, you will find a sound bath for your chakras and for your aura. They're there for you to listen to. They've been recorded. They've been out there quite a while. And I've got people I've connected with over the years who said, we still go in and listen to that every now and again. It just helps us. So they're there. They're free. Gift of Healing TV has been going since 2014. There are interviews with practitioners of many different techniques and practices. There are also all the videos from the very beginning are up there. Metamorphic techniques up there, Reiki's up there, so much more is up there. So go and have a listen. They're free. There are also meditations. There are exercises. Now, some of those exercises are meditative exercises. Some are cognitive exercises, some are physical exercises. There are some panel discussions, so with groups of people. There are also a series called Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls, which, unless I've got a guest, are very short ones just from me, but just things to think about within our daily life. If I've got a guest, they're more likely to be a half an hour long. If they're just me, probably about no more than 10 minutes. So they're on the shorter side. And then there's something we've started fairly recently. Again, Boshit, you've been a guest. And that's today's conversation that I do with a lady called Enolia. And again, we openly talk about topics that sometimes I thought, oh, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with this. But it's really good because we're talking about things that sometimes we may avoid, but we stick with all of these. We stay away from religion and politics.
Oh, that's always that can be a very tactful thing to do, but that is wonderful. Yes, that is indeed the gift of healing TV is actually I would say a magnificent wealth of resource. You owe yourself and your loved ones and your friends to go check it out, because even if life is all seemingly rosy at this moment, then sometimes it's good for us to learn something new, and always to know we never know when somebody actually can benefit from something. But if you believe in continuing to grow and helping others grow, I would go check out Give Up Healing TV, because it is just an amazing wealth of result, not just about Reiki, but about any about practically in most or any topic that can help us thrive even more. That is so wonderful. Do you have any final message to our audience?
Love yourself. Be the love of your own life. Because when we can actually do that for ourselves, we can do so much more in our life, not just for us, but for everybody around us. So if anybody says loving yourself is selfish, no, it's the absolute opposite of being selfish, because we bring so much more to others.
That is beautiful. And when I think about you, I somehow always think when I thought about Sara Jane, it's always some that give me the image and the energy of love. And so I love that very much. That's so beautiful. Love yourself and love who you are, and stand up for who you are. That is such a beautiful message, Sarah. Thank you. Being love and allowing love, because you said you allow energy, and the infinite energy is love. That is so lovely and beautiful. To return to love, right? And so thank you so much for sharing your tips today, Sara Jane. It's such a great honor to learn and to have the resource and the beautiful resource from you, and your gift of healing TV. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share 1 or 2 gold nuggets in the comment below, so we can all continue to learn from each other. And thank you for joining us. Please share this podcast with your friends and family so they too can triumph. And this is Dr. Birgit Tan, your grief transformation specialist for individual and businesses, founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity, and United States country chair for G100 Global Networking All Ladies Leagues. And I see that you, my friends, you make it a thriving day. And we will see you again Saturday next week at 9 a.m. Same place right here. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.